We all end up doing it at one point or another. We people please. We say yes to that one person, we begrudgingly do it, and then at some point, we wonder how we got here. People pleasing is probably one of the worst things that can happen to almost anyone. It stops you from things like your health journey, it stops you from things like personal development, and it really stops you from pursuing who you are because you're always operating under the veil of being someone else. The act of people pleasing goes pretty far back, but most of the time, it's probably your family. Whether it be showing signs of questioning or perhaps even suggestions of something else, if it didn't agree with your parents, you probably got scolded. So as kids, we had to learn how to be responsive to the people around us in fear that we may trigger something like those moments again. Now, this was absolutely huge for me when I first recognized this because it was almost like whenever I was asked to do something, it felt like I was being forced into doing something because I didn't want to disappoint or hurt the other person that was asking me. And this is not to say it's my parents or your parents' fault. It's really all they really knew. So you can't really blame them. But however, we can take responsibility for understanding that this is a problem. So without further ado, let's dive into the 9 steps that you can take right now in order to stop people pleasing. Number 1, validate yourself. Now, where we have to look at is our internal dialogue versus our external dialogue. What are the things that have really made a difference in your life right now? What thoughts are really yours and what thoughts are really other people? And the best way to do this is to look at yourself with some interest, some curiosity, and really some respect. I think when we start to validate ourselves, when we really start to look at our strengths, but also our weaknesses, it really stands to show what we can gain from it if we actually give ourselves this validation. Now, this is a very, very difficult part because you have to be very honest with yourself. What are the things that really you're not good with? What are the things that you are good with? And what thoughts are actually yours and what thoughts are not yours at all? When we begin to recognize our strengths as well as our weaknesses, it really gives us an opportunity to work on the things that maybe we're not so good at. And when we begin to work on the things we're not so good at, then and only then can we begin to feel and validate ourselves for our own strengths because they're not coming from other people. They're things that we have already recognized and have begun or have completed working on. Number 2, remind yourself. Remind yourself that the environment and the people that you grew up with are very much different than the people you have right now around you. The anxieties and the fears in which you developed are no longer present in compared to when you were growing up. The people you surround yourself with now are not really as toxic. Well, there may be some toxic people still, as maybe the people that you were growing up with before. And the people that you have around now will respect your decision much more than when you were younger. The people are different now, the environment is different now, and the conversations are different now. So don't assume that because of your past experiences that everybody will react the same way that they used to. Remind yourself that you're not in the same place that you used to be. Number 3, the danger of not speaking up. When we have reservations, when we begin to hold ourselves back from conversation, we're really not helping anybody. In fact, we're hurting them more than anything. When we hold back, when we don't speak up, we ultimately don't let that other person grow, whether it be a lover that you're in a relationship with or perhaps the friend that you need to really have that tough conversation with. We continue to enable the things that they're not so good at, and we continue to tolerate the things that really we know are not good traits. And every time we do this, we're holding them back from growth. We're holding them back from really experiencing a new set of values, a new set of morals that maybe they need to go through in order to become this new person for themselves. So every single time that we hold ourselves back, every single time that we say, hey, we don't want to do something, or hey, yeah, I'll just do it, it really allows them to keep becoming this person that really they don't even know that they are becoming. So speaking up and the dangers of speaking up not only apply for us, but also the people that are putting it upon us as well. Number 4, articulation. Now, when I was a kid, I had a very difficult time really articulating my words. And truthfully, to this day, I still kind of do. But we're always going to come across this. But we do have to keep in mind that we are much better articulating. We have much better ways of expressing our emotions and much better ways of expressing who we are now compared to when we were younger. I think a lot of the time, when you become a people pleaser, you tend to allow yourself not to communicate because you're just going to agree with it anyways. And we fall into this habit of not articulating words, of not communicating properly, of not putting our true feelings out there. But do remember that now, because you are older, because you can understand yourself a bit better now, the articulation comes much better. And because the articulation comes much better, you can truly express your feelings and truly express why it's so displeasing for you to do this certain action or this thing that they're asking of you, rather than just saying yes to something. Number 5, learn to say no. Learning to say no is probably one of the hardest things, because in the moment when somebody asks you to do something, you go through this uncomfortable feeling and you're already picturing in your head what all of the bad things and unpleasant things are going to be when you say no. And it's easy for me to tell you, hey, just say no to this person, but how hard is it really in the moment? Because you may not just want to say flatly no, you might be going through some things. There might be some things on your plate right now. So here are some ways for you to say no so that it's not as awkward and it's not as uncomfortable as you may think it has to be. Commitment. Easily one of the best things you can say is, hey, sorry, I'm already committed to having dinner with my parents at this time. And truthfully, you may already be committed to something. Just tell them the truth. What are you committed to right then in that moment that, hey, you can't be doing this thing that they're asking you? Buy yourself some time. Sometimes it's not just a flat out no. You just need some time to really think over the question or the conversation. So one of the best things you can say is, hey, I'm kind of in the middle of something right now. Can I get back to you? Or I'm actually out of the office right now. Can I get back to you at a later date? A deferral. Now, this is really good when it comes to other people's problems or something you may really think that it won't last that long anyways. Hey, just say, I'm crazy busy this week or I'm crazy busy this month. Can I wait till later? Because most of the time their problem won't really last that long anyways. And really you can get back to living your own life. A transfer. Now, a transfer is probably one of the easiest things, especially if you want to still maintain a good relationship with this person, because maybe you just don't have the time for it right now, and maybe you know somebody who does. So as an example, hey, I'm not really comfortable with this thing, but I know Andy is really good at this. You should go see him. No and show. Say no, but at the same time, show them how they can do it for themselves. This one is really good for repetitive tasks or things that people keep asking you to do because they know you can do it. Instead of just doing it for them, show them how they can do it themselves. Priority. This one is really good for asking work-related stuff or even business-related stuff of which one should I work on right now? Hey, if you want me to take this on right now, what do you think I should stop working on so that I can focus my time on this? And lastly, prioritize yourself. Really simple. What are some things that you're working on right now that you could really use not just as an excuse, but truthfully the thing that you actually have time for? Like, sorry, I don't really have time this month for this. I'm all completely wrapped up and working on this new project. Number 6, set some goals. It is so easy, and I mean so easy, to say yes to people when you have no idea where you're going yourself. And I get it, I've been there. When you don't have a plan, when you don't know what you're doing next week, next month, next year, you can say yes to almost anything because, I mean, why would it hurt you? You have nothing planned right now. So one of the best things I recommend is really going back, looking at your own goals. What's your 1 month goal? What's your 6 month goal? What's your 1 year goal? What's your 5 year goal? When you have all those lined up, you can begin to see and prioritize the things that actually matter to you. And then it becomes much easier for you to actually say no to something because, well, it doesn't really align with your goal. The most dangerous thing about not doing is that we get used to really not living our own path and really following the path of other people because they just constantly keep asking us. So I recommend set some time aside and really work on the things that you want. Maybe just brainstorm, maybe just daydream a little bit and understand where you want to go within the next 6 months to a year. And it could be just adding some new hobbies, adding something that really makes your heart sing a little bit. Because I think a lot of us will get stuck in just a 9 to 5 or whatever job that we have, and then we have all this free time in which we say yes to all these people that keep asking us. But instead, fill your life with the things that really make you happy and then go from there. Number 7, recognizing toxic people. Now, it is not easy to recognize toxic people all the time because they may be loved ones, they may be people that have been in your life for a very long time. And I think a lot of us hold on to these toxic people without realizing it, or perhaps have them there because they served a sense of purpose or gave us a sense of value back then when we did have a good relationship with them. I've seen it so many times when old friendships have really outgrown each other. Maybe at some point you guys had a common goal. Maybe at some point you guys had some common understanding of something. But as you grew over time, they only become more and more toxic. And I think at that point, it may be the time to let them go. Now, how do you recognize a toxic relationship or a toxic person in your life? Well, most of the time when you're having a conversation with them, do you really not just benefit from it, but do you feel good walking away from that conversation? Do you feel drained? Or do they always cross boundaries? Do they keep continuing to do things that you've expressed you don't like to do, but continue to do it anyways? And the big one is when you actually stand up for yourself, when you start putting yourself forward, do they gaslight you? Do they make you feel guilty for doing the things that really are good for you? Do they sabotage you? When you start to recognize toxic people in your life, it becomes much easier to actually say no to them because you can understand your priority and why it matters so much to not have something like this toxicity in your life. Number 8, stop apologizing. This one is absolutely huge. I think a lot of us apologize for no reason, especially for things that are out of our control. And every single time we apologize, every single time we say sorry, it makes it harder and harder for us to really validate ourselves because we're essentially giving ourselves away to things we can't even control. It's almost like saying sorry for, hey, the weather is terrible, my bad I chose this day to go out with you because the weather is absolutely terrible. Instead of saying sorry, say thank you. Instead of saying sorry I'm late, hey, thanks for waiting for me. Instead of saying sorry for, you know, this communication or this understanding problem, say, hey, thanks for understanding or thanks for being patient. And instead of saying sorry for maybe having to reschedule a date or reschedule maybe a coffee meeting or whatever, hey, say thanks for rescheduling, thanks for understanding. By turning that apologizing habit, by turning that saying sorry habit into more of a gratitude habit, it becomes a much stronger case for you to actually put yourself first and to stop people pleasing. Number 9, understand yourself. Every single time you say yes to someone, every single time you begin to have those thoughts of uncomfortableness, if you've ended up saying yes, it's cool. It happens. You're going to relapse at some point. And at some point, you're probably going to say yes to something you don't want to. But if you do end up doing that, at least write it down. Write down the situation. Why is it that you said yes? What was the thought that came into your head when you said yes? And why is it specifically that you don't enjoy doing this task? The more information I believe that we can start getting on this habit of ours of saying yes to people, especially when we don't want to, the more we can begin to understand what triggers us, what we need to avoid, and why it's so uncomfortable for us to say yes, maybe to this specific person or maybe in this specific situation. In fact, the more information you have, the easier it's going to be for you in the future to say no. People pleasing in a lot of ways is actually lying. We're lying to people about who we are. We're lying to people about what our intentions really are. And we're lying to people about what kind of person we are. But the worst part is that we're lying to ourselves. We tell ourselves it's impossible to change. We accept it as the norm, and every day it becomes harder and harder to break that habit. So I hope this video is one that really gave you a little push, a little tip, a reminder, or just something to help you move forward in the direction that best suits you, the right direction. Thanks so much for watching, and if you guys enjoyed this video, do consider subscribing. It would definitely help me a lot and really show me that maybe these videos do work, maybe these videos you guys do appreciate, just so I can put more out like this, or maybe something completely different because this video sucked. And while you're at it, do consider also subscribing to our weekly newsletter. This is where you get all the health and personal development stuff in very, very, very short email newsletter things in your inbox every single week. Thanks so much again, and I'll see you in the next video. But as always, keep it 150.
I know it is.